Hello, everybody. My name is Jacob, and welcome back to the Epileptic Gamer Podcast. Now, if you joined us from episode 7 about Sly Cooper, well, welcome to episode 8. If not, go check out that episode now. It's a really good one. It's one of my favorites, and I know you guys will like it too. So, I know, shameless plug, but what can I say? So, let's get on with it. So, EA, they screwed up in a big way. And when I say big, I mean they got attacked by every influencer known to man on social media. And if you're wondering why, they decided to do a meme tweet, which was, you're a 10, but type of meme. And knowing EA and the multiplayer games that they publish, some are good, some are bad. Well, they screwed up. They decided to go with, you're a 10, but they play single-player games. Oof. People did not take too kindly to that, as they immediately hopped on and attacked EA, and do I think they deserved at least what they got? I mean, maybe. You can argue that there's a line to be drawn here and there. But at the same time, when you're releasing Star Wars, at least the sequel to Star Wars Fallen Order, I mean, you should have no right to talk about single-player games. And at least this time. Because you are releasing what is probably going to be one of your best-selling games. Yes, you have every right to talk about multiplayer games. You have every right to talk about single-player games. But when people mainly play a shitload of single-player games, and some of them are best-selling, that is a problem. You don't do that. I'm not a big major. I'm not like a big company at all. I'm not a big podcast company at all. I barely have any followers. The fact that you guys listen still blows my mind. But that's something I would never do. And that is the epiphany of, you would ever hear the little record scratch? That is what that was. They completely screwed up. And the fact that they crashed and burned, it was very amusing to see. I don't know if the tweet is still there. As I'm recording this, to my knowledge, it's still there. You can go check it out. Just look at their Twitter page. But, oof, that was something that happened, and they didn't reply to any of the tweets because they knew if they would, at least it's my logic, if this wasn't me and I knew that I screwed up and I replied to any tweets, I would get roasted on the spot. And I would probably regret it immediately. And what's hysterical is some game developers that they laid off decided to chime in, and I give absolute props to them, and say that they would actually talk about the crunch time that they did before they laid them off. And good for them. They needed that wake-up call. You don't alienate what is probably at least 75% of the gaming community. If you look at the Steam numbers for at least what the popular games are, I know for a fact is one of them is Farm Simulator, which blows my mind. I didn't think those were big games. I mean, I knew they were, but not as big as I thought they were. Another one was Euro Truck Simulator, RimWorld. You see a pattern here? A lot of them are single-player games. Stardew Valley, yes, it has multiplayer, but it is better played single-player, because that way you can focus on your farm, you can get your farm better. So, the fact that they're going out and I guess you don't want to say attacking, they kind of took a jab at single-player games, and people that play single-player games. Oof. It's probably the best way you can say it, is that they they tried to make a joke that they thought would make people laugh, and they just pissed a shitload of people off. Do they deserve that? Absolutely. FIFA 22 is one hell of a game that exists with microtransactions. If you don't know, you've been living under a rock. I hate to say that, because it is infamous for one of the most terrible, and when I say terrible, I mean terrible microtransactions for a game ever. EA Sports, this in general, is bad. I mean, it's EA. They're going to find a way to do a money grab. Which, I mean, hell, they should have gave the Avengers game to EA. At least they would have been honest about them putting in microtransactions eventually. Yeah, I know. That was a low blow by me, but whatever. I enjoyed the Avengers game. Sue me. But, I mean, you should not go out and attack at least a lot of video gamers, me included, because it's just something you don't do. That is rude, first off. Yeah, it was played off as a joke. But when you have influencers like Jacksepticeye and Alana Pierce, and go ahead and check out their channels, shameless plug by me, and also other game developers, and Jeff Knightley, I believe he's still the head of Xbox, chiming in and saying that they should not have done that. That's saying a lot. But that is just my 2 cents in the situation. My hot take of it, and I know 2 cents on a hot take, hear me out. I want you to see how the difference is. My hot take of it is, keep your mouth shut in this situation. If you make multiplayer games, talk about multiplayer games. The biggest thing that makes them a hypocrite is they are releasing a Star Wars game that's single player. And it's going to sell well. You put the name Star Wars on anything, it'll sell well. I could release a shit game, put Star Wars on the cover, have it published by EA, boom, I just made millions. Even if it's terrible. But the fact that they decided to release a Star Wars game like that, and it's coming up, published by EA, and I think it's published or developed, it's one of the two, is the biggest swing and a miss. And probably one in the history of gaming when it comes to tweets. But hey, go check it out. I think it's worth to see a few laughs in there, because the funny jabs that people take a look at the history of EA, all the single player games of EA. Yeah, they now are focused on multiplayer, but if you look back at the history, there's quite a few single player games in EA that apparently they conveniently forgot about. So, I'm going to sign off with this. EA, you screwed up. Delete the tweet or turn off comments while you can, because you're not making it easier on yourself. And just be smarter. I mean, like I said, I'm a podcaster that barely has any views. But, not views, listens, I'm sorry. But, just smarten up. That's all you have to do is smarten up. Because if you do that, you could avoid this entire situation. Yes, I'm sure you thought it was going to be funny. It wasn't funny. It backfired in your face, and that's what made it funny. At least to me. But that's just my 2 cents of the situation. That's also my hot take. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. Take a look at the EA Twitter post. It's still up as of me recording, which is January 3rd. Not January. My God, July 3rd. So, go ahead and take a look at that. I am so sorry that I had to go on my big rant there, but yeah, they screwed up. Take a look at the Twitter post, as I said before, because I want to hear what you guys think. It is very funny to read some of the posts, some of the someone at least of the game developers that came out and said that they shouldn't have done it, is worth the laugh. So that is it for this episode. We are past the 10-minute mark. That's where I try to end things. So my name is Big Jake 423, or Jacob, whatever you want to call me. This is the Epileptic Gamer Podcast, signing out. You guys have a good weekend. Bye-bye.